Okay, hey everyone, welcome to Horizon 2023. My name is Maciej Mayer, and today I have the pleasure to host a session by Jakub Górski. Kuba, being a manager and a consultant for many years, has been helping customers to get most out of their TM1 systems. One key component of those systems has always been the Excel plugin that allows users to integrate the power of TM1 into Excel. For a very long time, this has been done through perspectives, but the standard today is planning analytics for Excel. If you're still using perspectives, then you're in luck, as during his presentation, Kuba will tell you all about moving from one to another. Over to you, Kuba.
Thanks, Maciej. Hi, my name is Jakub Górski. Today I will be presenting you what we have learned on the process of transitions clients from perspectives to PAfE. Let me just share my screen quickly. Okay, so why are we here? So I know that the perspectives is a great tool. It was there a long time. It was used by many clients, but its days are counted. It's meant to be gone, as it was confirmed that in the V12 of TM1, it will no longer be used. Since that the decision actually was made quite a long time ago, no new functionalities were implemented in perspectives for a long time, which ended up in big architectural and functionality gap. There are changes in the technologies used by TM1. There are changes in the technology, like globally, let's say, and perspective is just like a legacy tool that is not longer valid. So just to set a bit stage for this presentation, planning analytics for Excel is backward compatible. That being said means that like 95% of your reports should work without the problems. The TM1 model stays the same, so it's only about how the perspectives are used and the client access through it. But just to go back to my previous thing, the 95% on average means that you can be a victim of statistics, because those 5% that reports that will not work and will involve much more of effort to make it work. In your case, it can be 40% or 60%. And this is why I want to focus on the problems that you can actually have while migrating from perspectives. Oh my God, sorry. I didn't switch it off. I don't know how to switch it off. I'm sorry. There is a high chance that everything will work smooth, and your migration process will be easy. But as someone said, expect the best but plan for the worst. This is why we highly encourage you to treat this process as a normal project, when the analysis is the main phase, and it needs to be performed quite carefully, and take into consideration the things that I will mention during this presentation. The second phase will be the testing and development, and in this particular project, it's actually the other way around than usual, because you need to test your current perspective reports and then develop the changes if there is something wrong with them. The second most important part is user training, and it's a close to be also the most important one. So I will try to prove in this presentation that you also need to actually pay a special attention to it and actually do it properly. The last is the support during the go live, which may be problematic, but in most cases shouldn't. So the analysis phase, you should actually understand really good how the perspectives are used in your company. The first factor that implements how long it will take and how problematic can be the transition is the number of reports used by your users. It's simple. I don't think I need to explain more. More reports, more work. The second is the perspective user scenarios, meaning that different clients use the perspectives in different ways. Some of you are using perspectives as a development tool that actually maybe even the power users can change the metadata, can create their own TIs or rules. Some of you use it only as a tool for publishing reports that then will be consumed through TM1 Web. And there is everything in the middle. So you actually need to understand what are those scenarios and how you are using perspectives to check it if this will be working properly. Another factor is where those reports are stored. If you have most of the reports stored on the server, and then the clients, if they want to perform analysis, they just download the report, maybe change filters, and they use it that way. It's a highly controllable situation when you can do everything up front and you don't need to worry that much. If you have dozens of users spread across organization in different locations with their own reports built it for years, and on top of those reports, there are another reports that just use the reports to get the data from TM1. This is the situation when it can be actually a bit challenging to go to PAfE smoothly. One thing worth for mentioning for the let's say testing phase is that PAfE and perspectives cannot work simultaneously on the same machine. So if we would like to put some of the users, like a power users, to test like how this will perform in the test environment, they will need to have either the different machine or RDP session, or maybe it can be done in the middle of the movement process. So they will be already using the PAfE as their primary analysis tool. Another important thing is to manage expectation of not only the users that will use that tool, but also everybody that is involved in this project. This is not an upgrade. It's a totally new tool that has quite a lot of cool new features. It performs much better in the one situation, which is, I would say, quite important in after COVID times. It has new look and feel, quite a few new functionalities that are really cool. I would say that using the hierarchies, which allows you to build your reporting cubes without need of actually building them. It's like a virtual. The hierarchies are virtual dimension in one of the dimension based on attributes, or range Control C and Control V. But some of the functionalities are missing, and this is the thing that you need to actually check when building your scenarios for the test usage phase. The list of those functionalities you can find in IBM documentation, but I will focus on the ones that I think are the most important. And some of them are like the one, for example, the first one is on the screen, doesn't have any workaround. Some of them do. So undo data entry, that button is gone. I think IBM is working on actually implementing that, but at the moment it's just not there. If you are using sandboxes, they are still there, but if not, then you cannot undo your entry of the data. The second thing is PAfE is actually a client tool that is focused on only the client. So everything that is connected to modeling, rules, TIs, chores execution, it's no longer there. You cannot use it. You need to actually use different ways of developing. Application tree grouping, it was a very neat way of grouping certain objects in TM1. If you could copy different like views, processes, or input forms in a one application folder. That meant like that we're focusing around one functionality. It's no longer the case. You can only store the input forms, so the Excel reports like that, and the views are always accessible through the cubes, and the processes is just a list. That's a small functionality, but if you were using F2 plus enter to refresh a single cell, that also doesn't work. There are also those functionalities that I think they are quite important that are listed in these documents are not existing, but we actually have some workarounds for them, or the new features which I now present. So starting with the spreading, the relative spreading is not there. It's actually not possible to use it at any report that is actually stored in Excel. But if you open a new cube viewer, you can still use the relative proportional spread or relative percent adjustment as you are used to do it before. It's just in another place. So it's no longer accessible through reports in Excel directly, but if you open the cube viewer, it's there. Another thing is the user-defined consolidation. If you were using this way of creating temporary consolidations to group data that's actually not grouped on the system, this function was deleted, but you can use the new way of doing that, which is called calculations, which actually I think it's better in this tool because you have more options. It's more user-friendly. It's like you actually just need to mark the things that you want to calculate and then decide what is the function that you want to use on those two marked elements, for example. So I would say that this is actually an improvement. Another thing is the print report. This functionality is not there anymore. So if you are using perspectives to produce multiply files or multiply tabs, that's no longer possible. The only part of it is the snapshotting functionality, which again, I would say the way that the snapshot is now implemented is much better because if you are using the snapshot, it will only get rid of the functions, the formulas that get the data from the TM1. So it will not clear all of the formulas, but only the TM1 related. So if you have a process, like a report that actually also performs for calculations, this will stay. Although there is one thing that I don't find that handy, you need to be a bit careful because this is now like the way how it works now, it's like you are working on an Excel file. So if you save it after doing a snapshot, let's say you have your beautiful report that you were working on for 5 hours, and then you just need to share it with like person that needs to review it. You press snapshot, save it, send it via email. Then actually there is no way of going back. This is like you cannot control Z. The report is just overwritten, so you need to be careful about that. So during the testing and development phase, what you will actually need to do. It's pretty simple, and this instruction should work in most of the cases. You need to upgrade buttons as the buttons are now designed in a different way. So all the reports that have the buttons, they need to be uploaded to the server, and there is quite easy wizard that will walk you through the process of upgrading them. They may lose a bit of formatting, but that's really simple to correct. And then like open each report, test, and implement any correction if this is needed. Again, it's supposed to work in the 95% of cases, but we already know that there are some, like let's say, certain scenarios that it can be a bit more difficult. Those are the scenarios that I will actually deep dive in the next slides. So the big cubes and the circular reference problems. It also, if you have any VBA perspective code used in your reports, you will actually need to replace it with the new code. There is an IBM document around that. I will not focus on that in this presentation. So let's go with the cubes with the big cubes. And by big cubes, I mean something with like 12, 13, 14 and more dimensions. Since perspective is a really old tool, and there was in one of the really old version of Excel, there was a limitation of how many function variables you can use. I think it was 16 or 18, I don't remember correctly. Perspective was dealing this with, in a way that if DBRW, for example, formula should use more of them, it was adding additional brackets in the formula. You can see two simple examples on the screen. And this was like working like that for quite some time. Now, actually, I think you can pass 256 variables to the formula. Therefore, this is no longer used. And actually, PAfE will, if it finds those kind of formulas, it will just throw you an error. So there is a tool that allows for automatic correction. That it's actually a formula that you need to run on the report that you that have those additional brackets. You need to be logged off. This cannot happen while you are connected. But there is a problem. If you use that formula on a clean DBRWs, or maybe like this, the first one is not exactly the clean one, it will work perfectly. But if you do it with nested DBRWs or nested functions, it will actually not work. And this is a scenario in which actually can cause a lot of time spent on correcting those reports. If you have a lot of reports based on a lot of big cubes with this if function nested using the DBRWs, that can take a lot of time. On the project I was involved, we dealt with that with the macro that was written especially for that, but it was semi-automatic, but because this macro needs to be adjusted for each of the case individually, and it was not always working. The circular reference problem, that is much easier. The perspective was quite forgiving for that. So if there was an error, if there was a circular reference error, but it was not in, let's say, a scope of what perspective is interested in, perspective was just ignoring that. It's no longer the case. If you have any circular references that are in the report, your report will not work. So you need to correct it. It's quite easy. You just go to error checking and you need to correct them one by one. There is one, I would say, funny example. When we had an example that those circular references were under merged cell. I think it's no longer possible to actually do it like that. Maybe it's become like this file was created in an old version, but nevertheless, we actually needed also to correct all of those and find them. And like that also consumes a bit of a time because we needed to unmerge, get rid of the wrong formulas and merge again. So for the training, I hope that I at least partially proven that like this is not a training that you will be possible to deliver in 1 hour. This is a new tool. It's like the proper training will make your user life easier and everybody else life easier, because if there is no proper training, the user will just complain because they will not find it that easy. The fact that they know the system, they know the, let's say, the perspectives, and they know TM1 structures can help, but it's still a learning curve, and I think that there should be like a proper training for the end users. Those trainings supposed to be based on what the users are actually doing. So it would be actually great if, apart from the general tool, you would walk your user through all the functionalities that they need to perform their day-to-day work. But you also should underscore the cool new functionalities, which are quite a lot, and show them, which, just for the end of my presentation, I want to focus on one. It's the options menu that actually change how the tool is behaving. So it's a great way of changing the intake in, let's say, changing your experience and changing this to your way of work. But there is also one settings that I would highly recommend for everybody to change, because everybody that was using perspectives are used to refresh the data with F9 or Shift F9. It's still possible, but it's optional, and you actually need to change it in the settings. Or when this tool is installed, for example, if this is like a package delivered by your IT, that can be also checked for them, just to make the process smoother. The help, I highly encourage you to check the help of those options, because it's really well designed in a way that, for example, if you have two different options that will change your behavior, if you hover on eye icon, it will show you the differences in behavior of those of this setting. So it's actually really good help section. And then the last, support. I don't think there is a lot to mention that. I would say that a lot of support is heavily needed when you have a lot of distributed reports and you expect to have problems with the big cubes and the circular references. Then it can be tricky. In most of the other situations, I don't think there is a lot of support needed, because the process of the movement should be quite smooth and easy. That's it. I hope I made it on time. Are there any questions?
Thank you, Kuba. Before we head to the questions, let me ask everyone to share their feedback on the session. Kuba, I see you switched which screen you're now sharing.
Sorry.
Okay, so after a minute. Okay, so we have one question from Robert, which is related to performance of reports. So what he is saying is that they have switched from perspectives to PAfE, and actually they have seen a deterioration in the performance. Can you provide any best practices on where to look if you have problems with performance? Are there any logs, any tips that you can share on that?
For the logs, I think there are logs, but like I cannot provide how to do it by heart. I will reach out back and try to, like, when I find the information. For the performance, it's like, let's say the performance over wide area network should be better, but it doesn't mean that it will be as super fast as when you have it in your headquarters. Also, the performance of the tool is affected by the computer itself, because in the, let's say, the previous way of doing that, of how the perspectives were working, all of the calculations were performed on the server side. Now there is like a big file, the JSON file with all the data, and part of the calculations may be actually performed on the Excel. So of course not like any consolidations, that stuff, but like if you have something big and then you have a report on top of that, that can be just bigger. This JSON file needs to be transferred from let's say not transferred, transformed from the way how the JSON file are structured to like tables, and this can be like a bit tricky. I would also encourage, of course, like the checking the view formulas, which is the usual one. But yes, I would also love to talk to you, Robert. This performance, like this is one of the parts that you need to manage the expectations, because the way how now the PAfE is connecting means that some of the reports will be a bit slower, but it's a bit. It shouldn't take like a long time, especially if you have a reports that are having like dozens of columns, thousands of rows. This is, let's say, not. I know that they can work slower than if you were using perspectives and you were in the office. On the other hand, if you would try to execute report like that in perspectives, it wouldn't work at all if you are not in the office and you're, for example, you're trying to connect through VPN. Does it answer at least partially your question?
If it doesn't, I recommend to use the networking functionality that we have, or Robert, for you to just reach out directly to Kuba.
Okay.
We have also a second question from Adam. Can the DBRW formula in PAfE take a subset name instead of an element name like perspective does?
I do not know. DBRW subset name instead. I don't think so. Like, I think that was a functionality connected, if I remember correctly, in perspective. I didn't use it quite a lot, but that was the functionality connected to user-defined consolidations, which is no longer working. If you are looking for the functionalities like that, like the option in planning analytics for Excel is the calculations. This is where you can, for example, create those summary of everything in the view and then show it on the report. So this wizard I was showing on a GIF, or you can try Explore Slice, which has quite nice and neat functionalities for those kind of activities.
Okay, we have one more. So Julian is saying that his users are having difficulties using PAfE as the context dimensions don't stack like perspectives.
What do you mean by don't stack?
Julian, if you could provide a bit more context, they come up as scroll left and right.
Well, the context dimensions are now transferred to the range, and like I also had comments on that it's actually quite nice to have this as a data validation, so like a Dropbox drop list. But yeah, I would also love to connect with you and try to see what is the problem, because I didn't experience something like that.
Okay. I don't see. And so Julian, I don't know if you could be seeing this, but then Julian is saying that on perspective they resize with the window. So I would assume the.
Okay,
I think this might be one that probably you need to look at.
I think this is the one that I just need to see and then try to solve it. I will happily assist you, but anyway, we have like 18 seconds of this presentation left.
Yes.
Okay, I hope you liked it, and I hope that I actually didn't say too much words about PAfE. It's a great tool. Just plan your migration. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Kuba, for the good presentation. So if you're interested to learn more about PAfE, we do have one more session, at least one more session. There's one by Mark Weller at 4:45 p.m. Central European Time, new and custom Excel functions to enhance your TM1 workbooks. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a nice day.
Thank you. Bye.